and what must change in the international approach to Palestine. Please welcome Dr. Mustafa Barghouti.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me today. And I want, on behalf of our people, to thank you all, especially those who have been in solidarity with Palestine, for everything you have done to support the Palestinian people. We've been subjected to the most horrible genocide. And I think I realized there is a difference between knowing something and realizing it. So when we speak about what happened to Gaza, and now what's happening everywhere in Palestine, we can see that we are subjected to 3 war crimes at the same time. The war crime of genocide, the war crime of ethnic cleansing repeatedly, and the war crime of collective punishment, including starvation. 250,000 people have been killed or injured in Gaza so far. That is 12% of the population, including 20,000 children. 12% of the population. To realize what that means, apply it to the United States of America, and you would be talking about 35 million people killed or injured. Do you know what the United States would have done if 1 million people were injured or killed? Apply it to India, and you will be talking about 176 million people killed or injured in the course of 2 years. 200,000 tons of explosives, American explosives, German explosives, French explosives. I don't want to continue naming countries. 200,000 tons of explosives, that is 86 kilograms of explosives for Hind Rajab, and for each man, woman, and child in Gaza. It's more than the 10 nuclear bombs that were thrown on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And it has left, now we have to deal with 60 million tons of rubble that is mixed with depleted uranium and so many chemicals that destroy the environment. I saw today in my hotel room signs that we should not change the towels so frequently because you care about the environment. Who cares about the environment in Gaza today? 91% of the houses are destroyed. 94% of all hospitals were attacked. More than 2,500 families have been erased completely from the civil record, which means nobody is still alive from these families. And more than 5,600, I think, have all vanished except one remaining from each family. And you have to understand how each person feels from these people who stayed alive. But the most important thing is that the war is not over. While we were talking today, I was receiving messages. Up till now, the Israeli bombardment, since this morning, killed 29 more Palestinians, including 7 more children and 9 more women, and they still bombard Gaza. And I am so worried if the war starts with Iran that they will open full-scale war in Gaza. There is no ceasefire in Gaza. There is unilateral ceasefire, only from the Palestinian side, but not from the Israeli side. Today in Gaza, every person gets sick 3 times a month. Today in Gaza, people don't have clean water, don't have fresh air, don't have electricity, don't have sewage systems, and still, people are not broken. The West Bank and Gaza and Jerusalem are also subjected to other kinds of terror. We are in the West Bank subjected to settlers' terror. Settlers' terror gangs tour around. Every day they attack 8 to 10 communities, burning houses, burning cars, shooting people, killing them. In the last 2 years, they killed more than 1,130 other Palestinians in the West Bank, of course, jointly with the Israeli army. The West Bank itself is now under 1,100 military checkpoints, destroying the connectivity and life there. 200 military gates transform many communities into nothing but prisons. One village I know very well is called Hizma. I used to treat people there. Has now been under siege for more than 5 days. Why? Because the Israeli army decided to close off the village. During the last period, Israel has conducted 22,000 arrests in the West Bank. And the worst thing that the 10,000 Palestinian captives, because they should be also called captives, are suffering from terrible torture, deprivation of basic needs, of medical treatments, and starvation. Most of them, if they come out of jail, they come out having lost 20, 30, sometimes 40 kilograms of their weight. Each prisoner I saw after coming from there came out with a skin disease called scabies, because they are not allowed to have hygienic necessities. They're not allowed to change their clothes. They're not allowed to have showers properly. And they are not allowed to have treatment, including 400 children who are still in Israeli jail, and including no less than 3,650 prisoners who are put in jail without charges completely. And yet, we haven't been broken. And we did not do what the Israelis want us to do, which is to leave our country. We did not leave. We will not broken. And we will not be broken. And we will not allow them to conduct the ethnic cleansing. And we never gave up our struggle for freedom, for dignity, for self-determination. The Palestinian struggle is not just to achieve a ceasefire or to get humanitarian assistance. The Palestinian struggle is to get our freedom. That's how it started. They practice against us terror. And you can see how many governments in this world are blaming the victims, the Palestinians, accusing us of being terrorists. But really, who's practicing terror? We're subjected to physical terror. We're subjected to intellectual terror. We're subjected to economic terror. We're subjected to blackmail every day. And you are too. Anybody who's in solidarity with Palestine and with the Palestinian people is also subjected to this kind of terror. And you ask yourself the question, why Israel is attacking UNRWA? Why Israel is attacking UN agencies that try to work in Palestine? Why Israel is now trying to prevent 50 international NGOs, including, for instance, MSF, from working in Palestine? And why do they consistently and continuously attack Palestinian NGOs that are doing heroic work in Gaza and in the West Bank? Because they want to strangulate us, because they want to kill any potential or possibility of the steadfastness of the Palestinian people. And they have formed many organizations. You face them every day. NGO Monitor, UK Lawyers, Camera, UN Watch, all designed by the Israeli establishment to prevent the ability of the Palestinian people to survive these difficult conditions. And let me be frank with you. You raised this question. And I respond to it by asking, why have we been subjected as Palestinians to the worst form of double standard? Why, in the case of Russia and Ukraine, Russia was subjected to 11,000 sanctions in 2 months, and not a single sanction on Israel? Why they are consistently talking about demilitarizing Palestinians in Gaza who have only some light weapons, and nobody speaks about demilitarizing the Israeli terrorist groups, the settlers groups. And please understand, they don't want to take away these weapons. They want to take away from us, the Palestinians, the human Palestinians, the right. They want to take away from us the right of resistance, the right to resist injustice, the right to resist occupation and oppression. Why the whole world was talking about one Israeli body of one Israeli soldier who was still in Gaza, and I'm very happy that he went back to his family and they buried him. But nobody speaks about 700 Palestinian bodies that are still held by Israel, including some that have been in captivity since 50 years. People don't know that. People don't know. One of my Palestinian colleagues today was surprised when he interviewed me to know that when an Israeli prisoner in jail, when a Palestinian prisoner in Israeli jail dies, according to the Israeli regulation, his body will be kept in prison till he finishes his term. And if he is sentenced to life imprisonment, they will keep his body forever. A woman from Jenin camp asked me a question. Her boy, who was 15 years old, was hit and shot by the Israeli army and killed. And then the army took his body away, detained his body since 5 years. And when I met her, she asked me, all I want is a grave to cry on. Can you imagine that there are probably more than 1,000 bodies from Gaza also that are kept in Sditi Man concentration camp, and their families don't know anything about them? The suffering of the prisoners is beyond description. I recently met Nail Barghouti, who was in Israeli jail for 42 years, much more than Nelson Mandela. And he told me, I don't count the first 40 years. I count the last 2 years because they were so horrible and so drastic and so destructive. I hear the international community speak about two-state solution, but they don't take any measures to stop the Israeli assassination of the possibility of a Palestinian state or a possibility of two-state solution. In my opinion, those countries that continue to speak about two states and do nothing about the Israeli illegal settlements, and do not practice sanctions against Israel for doing what it is doing, these countries are simply practicing hypocrisy. many of you were so harassed and attacked because you used the term, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And nobody meant that only Palestinians will be free. Actually, I think it also meant that Jewish people will be free. But look, 3 days ago, the war criminal Netanyahu, who is wanted by the ICC, who was indicted by the ICC, to be precise, said that Israel will be in control of all Palestine and that the Jewish state will be from the river to the sea, including Gaza. I didn't hear any Western politician criticizing Netanyahu for saying from the river to the sea. And you should ask your politicians why they don't do that. And believe me, the last thing we want as Palestinians is to replace one occupation with another occupation. And to replace the occupation of Gaza by Israel with an international occupation jointly by Israeli occupation. And I have to answer this question because by killing the idea of two-state solution, which Israel is doing, it is trying to put us in front of one choice, either death or ethnic cleansing. Because if they refuse two-state solution and they refuse one-state solution, then what is the solution for the fact that there are 7.3 million Palestinians now on the land of historic Palestine versus 7.1 or 2 million Jewish Israelis? For them, the only solution for Gaza, for West Bank, for all Palestinians is ethnic cleansing. And I answer them, and we answer them by saying, no, we will not accept ethnic cleansing. We will stay, we will remain, we will steadfast, and we will struggle for our rights as long as we can live and as long as we can. And since they have killed the two-state solution, the only solution that remains viable is one democratic state with equal rights for everybody in all of Palestine. We know we have an imbalanced balance of power. We know that without the help of the United States, Israel would not have been able to do this genocide and to continue conducting the genocide today at this moment while we talk in Gaza. But we also know that we have two very important weapons to shift the balance of power. And these two things give us hope. The first one is our steadfastness, our resilience, our struggle. And to every Palestinian in the diaspora today, and I know many of you here in the hall now are Palestinians who were forced out of their homes. I direct my talk to you now. Wherever you live, whether in Europe, United States, Jordan, Lebanon, or anywhere else, please understand that it is your duty now to support and help the steadfastness of your people in Palestine, in Gaza, in West Bank, in Jerusalem, and in 1948 areas. Get over all the obstacles. I call on every Palestinian to stand with another Palestinian. I call on every Palestinian family, wherever they are, to stand and support another Palestinian family in Gaza to rebuild their home and rebuild their structure. We cannot wait for others. We cannot rely on others. We have to rely on ourselves and help ourselves. And the second pillar that we have is you, the people in this hall, the group the people who belong to the international solidarity with Palestine. Your help, your support, your demonstrations, your resilience was the goal, was the cause why Israel was obliged to accept the ceasefire agreement, and now they are violating it, I know. But without you, this would not have happened. And without you, we cannot stop this genocide from continuing again. So this international solidarity movement is what we need. And please understand that what we see today is exactly what Nelson Mandela anticipated when he said that the Palestinian struggle is the most important human issue of our time. And the international law, which is violated now when we speak about Greenland, the international law, which is violated today when we speak about Venezuela, was first killed in Gaza. Please remember that. We will not vanish. I want to tell you and affirm one more time, Palestinian people don't vanish, and Palestinian people don't disappear. Wherever I go, I see them. Wherever I go, I meet them. On the plane today, while I was flying to here, I met a Palestinian who lives in Germany, who has German citizenship. He told he's working for an international company. And he told me a story. He was in a big conference of Expo. And there were 35 speakers from different countries. And then he said, let's sit down and talk together. They're mostly from the Middle East. And out of 35 people, there were 30 Palestinians who came from Germany, Saudi Arabia, France, Qatar, etc., etc., etc. So we are here. We're not going to disappear. And when I say we struggle for our freedom, I say to our Palestinian colleagues and relatives here, we are also struggling for your right of return to your own country. Because and nobody can claim that this is anti-Semitism. Because the logical question is, if some people claim they came to Palestine because they claim that they came to Palestine because their ancestors lived there 3,000 years ago, how can you then prevent somebody whose ancestors lived there 70 years ago? That is so illogical and so unacceptable and so wrong. I want to tell you, we will rely on ourselves. We'll adopt the same principles that we adopted in the first Intifada, which was one of the best forms of nonviolent Palestinian resistance in history. Self-reliance, self-organization, and defiance of injustice, defiance of occupation. And as one of my friends, a very good filmmaker, director, Anne-Marie Jasser, who just finished a very good movie, and I advise you all to watch it. It's called Palestine 36, about the Palestinian 1936 revolution. She said something that impressed me a lot. She said, Palestine is not free, but we are free people, and we will achieve the freedom of Palestine. Thank you. 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 Thank you, please.